Hi and welcome back to the second of two videos that I've done on the mystery booster draft that we had recently. I'll try and put a link somewhere on the screen to link back to the previous video. We also did an unboxing for both of the booster boxes that were used in this draft, and I'll link them at the end so that you can watch those if you really want to. So I'm going to be playing the video of the draft on my screen. You should see it on yours. I think for this one I'm actually going to leave the sounds, the ambient sounds, in the video if I can. I've taken them out before because usually there's me speaking over the top. I don't think I do in this one, so it gives a nice flavour of what it's like whilst we're doing a draft at the Mug and Meeple. Anyway, this is me talking through, so I'm just going to start the video rolling right now. So the first thing that I tend to do when I'm making a draft deck is I'm going to just take the cards and I'm actually going to look at what I've drafted, because what you think you've drafted versus what you've actually drafted are two different things. So it's important to actually go through and actually look and see, okay, did I draft as many creatures? Did I draft 3 of those things that I thought I drafted 3 of? Did I do what did you actually do? And I think in this first run through, I'm also just taking out cards that I'm just not going to play. Like, there's always like 15th picks and 14th picks and what have you, or cards that you, like I did, first picked in the first booster that you know you're not going to play, and that you just made a mistake on, or just ended up in your lap, and you're just going to get rid of them because you don't want to think about them, you don't want to consider them. It's very rare that any of those are going to make a deck, so yeah, just getting rid of those. I'm now just going through and I'm sorting out. I should add, actually, one thing I've already done is I've already looked at the possible splashes. So I've taken out the cards that are maybe not in the colours that I'm playing, and I'm just sort of putting those through their paces and putting them out of the deck. But at the moment, I've just gone through and I've taken out all the non-creature spells so that I can look at non-creature and creature differently. So my draft method, the way I build a deck, is to try to stick as closely to the formula of 17-6-17 as much as possible. And I'll go over exactly what that is in a little while. But right now what I'm doing is I am just going through and having a look at those non-creature cards and preparing the 6 or so that I'm going to play. I'm having a look to see what my backup cards are going to be, so I know whether or not I'm gonna play certain creatures later on compared to, like, for example, so to give you an example, in here I've got the hot soup, which makes a creature unblockable. Are there any creatures that have an effect when they deal damage that may be better because I'm playing the hot soup in the deck? Hot soup plus Mask of Memory is a nice little combination. So again, have a look at those and see what creatures can benefit from that. So knowing what non-creature spells I'm going to play tells me whether or not what will inform my decisions about what creatures I'm going to play. Do you notice I just put Bestial Menace just into the pile of creatures? It's not a creature, but it is a creature, really. I mean, it creates 3 creatures. That's all it does. So having that as a creature card makes a lot more sense than having it as a non-creature card in the scheme of things. So I've chosen my 5. The Search for Tomorrow, Treacherous Terrain, mainly because of the basic land cycling. Hot Soup, Mask of Memory, and Umbral Mantle. I don't have any real removal in there, which is why I'm taking a really good look at Inferno Fist. It is literally the only removal spell that I got. That was bad drafting from me. Should have got a lot more removal spells. The deck would have been a lot better had I drafted more removal, and it was there. The removal spells were there. Okay, now what I'm doing is I am laying out the creatures in a sort of pattern to show what mana cost they have. So I'm putting 1s and 2s in one pile. I'm putting 3s in one pile, 4s in one pile, 5s in one pile, and 6 and above in another pile. Depending on the draft, sometimes I won't have the 6, sometimes it'll be 5 and above. and I'll separate ones and twos, or maybe I just won't have those as many bands. Depends on the format a little bit. Here I felt like I had drafted a lot at the top end, and that was actually very true. I hadn't drafted enough cheaper, quicker stuff. I do quite like playing those rush decks, the efficient 1, 2s and 3s, well 2s and 3s mainly, but maybe 1s as well. Get them out quickly. So I'm sorting these by mana cost, just to give me an idea of what my curve is going to be like. So the idea is that I'm going to probably play a lot more 3-cost creatures than anything else. In draft, 1-drops don't tend to be that good. 2-drops are getting better, and you want to have more stuff like that so you can curve through. Depending on the format, if you've got cards that stall, you can draft a bit higher mana cost, obviously. But early on, I just want to get those quick creatures out, get a board presence, whittle down my opponent, and then finish them off later on. And this is why looking at the mana curve when you're drafting is really, really helpful, and it's a good way of separating the cards out and giving you a rough idea of where you're heavy and where you're light. And in my draft here, I am incredibly heavy at the top end, which is not really that great. I would have much rather seen a lot more 3s, if I'm honest, than 5s. But again, didn't have the best of drafts, and I'm prepared to admit that. The other thing, sometimes you adjust where you put a card. For example, I've got Greenbelt Ravager here at a 1/2 drop, and I'm thinking play it turn 1, play it turn 2 twice, and essentially that gives you a really good 2-drop. But honestly, it could probably easily sit in the 3s, because on turn 3 you can just play it 3 times if your mana is correct. It has to be 3 green, which is not great really, but you can play it sort of turn 3, and for a 3-drop it's also fine. So 2 or 3 is where I put this. Decree of Justice I've got sat in the wrong place. I've got it sat at 4. It should at least be a 5-drop, because you're going to want to cycle it for 3 and at least get 2 out of it, or maybe cast it for 6 or 8, for its actual cost. So I've got it undercosted here, and I shouldn't. But it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to play it no matter what, because I've decided that we're definitely splashing for this white, and it is a large splash, because I've got 3 cards, which is getting on for a 3rd colour really. Normally a splash is just 1 or 2 cards, and my rule with a splash when it comes to land is 1 card, 2 mana, 2 land, or 2 sources if you like of white, and 2 cards, 3 sources. 3 cards you're looking at a 3rd colour, so then you have to sort of take it a bit more seriously. But with the fixing that I had in the deck, I figured 3 planes would cut it, and you'll come when we actually look at how many lands I played, you'll see that that's what I went with. Another thing I've done in this process is I instantly sort of weeded out the dodgy cards. So when I'm going through and looking at the different piles, I'm like, well, Bear Cub, that can definitely go. That's not going to get played. I've got enough creatures that doesn't have to get played. And what I've just done here is I've had to whittle down the 4s and 5-drops and above to see what cards I'm going to play. And I've gone through and I've basically chosen the ones I think are the best 6-drops. Notice I didn't play any of those 5-drop 3/3 flyers, which I think I drafted 2 of them, and I drafted 1 of them fairly highly. I'm kicking myself over taking some of those. There were probably better cards in the draft. So I've chosen my 17 creatures. I've chosen 6 non-creatures. That leaves me 17 lands, and now I'm going to work out what lands to take. Now, I've just quickly mentioned that what you're seeing in the view now, there's my 3 planes I said I was playing. What you can see in the view now is actually a draft pack that we sell. It's essentially a laser cut box which will hold 4 of the Ultimate Guard 40 card deck boxes. So these are the deck boxes will just take 40 cards. They split into 2. There are also 80, 100 card versions of the same thing. and we sell those as well. But this one takes 4 of the 40 card ones, and the name escapes me. I can't remember what they're called. I only use 3, and basically I put some sleeves in them. I put some pre-sleeve land in them, and also some tokens from whatever the current set of draft is. So currently I've got Crimson Vow in the deck box. I could put a 4th deck box in there, but to be honest, just to hold my dice, just drop them into the compartment works fine. Yeah, I find that as a really useful for my draft kit, and makes drafting a lot more easier. I always have sleeves, always have dice, always have tokens, etc. So yeah, if you're looking for a gift for a Magic player, it's not a bad one. Okay, so I've gone through now and I've sorted these into piles. I've got them into multicolored piles, I've got them into red spells, and I've got them into green spells, and I've counted the mana pips on the corners of those spells, and then I've used that total to gauge how many forests, how many mountains I should play. The more spells that you're playing, the more pips on those spells, the more likely you are to need that land. I believe that I was slightly more weighted towards green in this deck, but we'll see in a minute. Actually, we'll see, because I do actually lay the deck out, and I wasn't watching as we was going through how many I chose, but you'll see that as I lay the deck out that the land was slightly weighted in one direction. Honestly, I prefer it when my deck is kind of skewed a little bit. The one thing I would say, in this deck, I think it would have been better to have gone with a 50-50 split. I had so many double mana drops, so double red, double green. Really, by turn 4, I wanted 2 of each to allow me to cast almost any spell in the deck. You know, or depending on what hand I had, I really wanted to get double. And I have to say that in game 1, it was a real problem. Okay, so I'm just laying out the cards now, and you just have a quick see through of what I actually ended up playing in the deck. So Hot Soup, Mask of I forgot what it's called now. It's going too quickly for me. I'm not going to read them out. You can see them on screen. I'm sure it's fine. So that's the first lot of cards that I played. And then I'm going to deal out these. Definitely the Penumbra Spider there was one of the MVPs of the deck. It always does well. It always does better than it should, the Penumbra Spider. It's just a really good creature. So what did I go with? 4, 5, 6, 7 mountains. Oh, maybe I did have an even split. 7. Did we go 7 forests? There you go. I did have an even split. So obviously that's where I was thinking with the. I'm pretty sure the spells were skewed one way or the other. But yeah. So that's the end of the video. But I did want to quickly go over the games that I played. So I'm just going to quickly run through them and who I played. So in game 1, I played Kat, and she beat me. I have to say I did get a. I don't want to say I got land screwed. That's not really fair to Kat. She played really well, and she beat me, 100% fair and square. I only saw 4 forests in 2 games, which did hold me back. But I had cards, and I did make a fist of it. But she beat me by just nibbling me to death. She had like a 1-drop infect creature that just nibbled me constantly through the game. She was just getting in. I can't remember if maybe it was unblockable. I think it might have been Menace. And I just couldn't find a way of stopping this thing. The 4 forests put in 2 games held me back, but she still played really, really well, and nibbling me was a great strategy. So yeah, it worked. Fair play. In game 2, I played Lyle. He's our new staff member in the store, in the Mug and Meeple. And he knows his magic stuff. He drafted a similar deck to me, actually, and I think it was pretty close. But essentially, my random assortment of dudes beat his random assortment of dudes in match 2, and then in match 3, I played Sam, and yeah, Sam had kind of lots of tiny flyers, and he was trying to go quite wide. And just trying to kind of get over the hill with all these little flyers. The penumbra spider was really key to winning this game. It really just stopped that strategy with a lot of the smaller flyers. And because he was trying to go fairly wide and had quite a lot of chumps, Umbral Mantle was absolute MVP in this game, because it allowed me to keep attacking with stuff when maybe I couldn't before. I think Hot Soup played a role as well. Also, honourable mention to Hornet Nest. Obviously, being able to get some 1/1 Death Touch flyers out of the 0-2 blocker was really key. Those things are essentially removal, and as I've said, my deck was way lighter on removal than it should have been. So really good to see those little 1/1 guys flying in the air and blocking and killing some of the other creatures that were flying at me. So there you have it. That was my Mystery Booster draft. Wasn't great. Didn't draft the best deck I've ever drafted, but I did have fun. Mystery Booster is an absolutely fun set to draft, and I'm hoping we have more Mystery boosters in the basement. So I'm hoping we will get some more Mystery Booster drafts in the scheme of things. In fact, we may actually put it on the wheel of draft. Something I will probably be doing a video on fairly soon to demonstrate how Wheel of Draft works. We do run Wheels of Draft here every 6 weeks or so. I think it's every month when we don't have a pre-release, we run a Wheel of Draft. That sounds about right. So, I'll do a video about that hopefully fairly soon. Anyway, thank you for watching. Do the normal give me the thumbs up, like, maybe subscribe if you want to see some more videos from us. And hit that bell icon that they tell you to hit so that you get notifications whenever we put a video up. Thanks very much. Hopefully see you soon at the Mug and Meeple.